Should I say this is a song I grew up on? Maybe. Hotel California, the Eagles. This is 94.3 TD1 and my guests are in the studio.
This is Good Morning Mumbai and you're with Annie.
94.3 Radio 1.
The prevalence of cancer, I believe you and I know about it by now. But there are very few people, or maybe now increasing numbers, of individuals like you and me, citizens, who come together to try and help and contribute in whatever ways possible. Access Life Assistance Foundation is one such attempt that a few people have got together to bring about to ensure that there is a treatment available. That is one, but there is temporary homes available for the people who come to the city for treatment from various parts of the state and maybe even the country for that matter. In the studio with me is Girish Nair and Ankeet Dave. Both of them together have started this foundation. Thank you so much for coming to the studios. A warm welcome.
Thank you, Annie.
All right, now, first of all, let's talk about cancer and the prevalence of cancer in our country. Can you take us with that?
Annie, the thing is, we are dealing with pediatric cancer, and the figures, so to say, is there are about 50,000 cases which are detected every year annually in India, and these are the figures, just the registered cases. There are many cases which go unregistered, and the fact is that out of this 50,000 children who are detected, there are only 40 oncopediatrics available in the country.
All right.
And most of them are based in Mumbai. So most of these kids, they end up coming to Mumbai from different states. And what it does, it puts a whole lot of load on the infrastructure of the hospital.
Right.
Now, there are many hospitals like Tata and, the other hospitals which is taking care of the medicine and the entire treatment part. But the biggest issue that they face is they have to stay in this city for almost 6 to 8 months, and they do not have a place to stay. So they end up either staying on the street or, some of the other ashrams or all those places which have a nominal fee which they have to pay, and they don't have that kind of money, which generally leads to secondary infection for these kids, or they have to abandon the treatment altogether. So that is the reason, we thought of coming up with something where we can take care of their accommodation, shelter, transportation during the course of the treatment until their chemotherapy is finished.
Right. Tell us about your background before you started off doing something like this, coming up with a foundation like this.
Okay. So me and Girish were colleagues in a PR firm.
Okay.
And, we had common thing between us was photography. So, we used to just, take our cameras and go to these places where we would volunteer. And initial thought was just, clicking pictures and, being part of it in some way and help out these NGOs. Slowly going to these places, we understood that this requirement is huge, where people have been, talking to us from MSW department and everybody, where they say that kids who come to hospital, they are lucky enough. There are, other kids who are still waiting outside, and the people who don't get places to stay, they end up going back. So that is where that thought came that, maybe, if we can start off in a small way, we said, okay, let's try it out. And we started with one center, which again was a challenge because we took 9 months to find this place. And finally, when we did, we just started off, and today we are at 5 centers.
Wow. The story just begins, so don't go anywhere. We still have to talk about Access Life Assistance Foundation, giving assistance to families, to children, to parents who come to the city of Mumbai. Venus Bananarama are right up next. This is Good Morning Mumbai with me, Annie. From the album All the Way, a decade of song, that's Celine Dion. That's the way it is. This is 94.3 Radio 1. I'm in a chat with Girish Nair and Ankeet Dave of Access Life Assistance Foundation.
This is Good Morning Mumbai and you're with Annie.
94.3 Radio 1.
Girish and Ankit started off with the idea of giving shelter to people who come to the city for treatment, and this is, we're talking about pediatric cancer treatment. But I believe, Ankit, Girish, you all have had enough turmoil that you've gone through and challenges you faced because it did not stop at shelter alone. Tell us about that.
Annie, to begin with, initially we thought that, if we could just provide a shelter to these kids who come to the city for their treatment, It just sounded very good on paper. We thought you just rent a shelter, you let them stay with you, they take care of the treatment, another set of parent walks in. But in June 2014, when we had the first set of children and their parents come in, we realized there is a lot of other issues. Half of the parents who come from the very rural parts of India, they didn't know how to use a commode. We had to show them, on YouTube how to do that. We also realized that, although we had the entire setup with gas and stove and all the utensils, they couldn't buy their own grocery because they didn't have that much funding. So we started grocery from day one itself. Going on, when they used to go for the treatment, we realized they have to use the public transport, and it was very difficult for the kids, especially after chemo, to do the transportation. So we introduced them, we introduced reimbursing them for the cab. So what started off as just a shelter, which we thought we could do with, we kept on adding on layers and components, which could really help them and, make a complete 360-degree care along with the hospital. So from the shelter, now we are also looking at food, we are looking at nutrition, we are looking at transportation. We have introduced informal education for the children.
Nice.
We have recreation programs for them every week so that, they can take their mind off. We have counseling sessions for them. And we also do skill development where we teach the parents some sort of skill because they are staying with us for 6 months. So that's a skill that they can pick up, and when they go back, they can make some product and, earn some money.
Nice. So this is a non-profit organization. Must be difficult for you to bring in these people because you have other resources to put into play over here when it comes to, you're saying, skill training, or for that matter, even resources like helping them with counseling and things like that. So how do you go about doing that, Ankit?
So, we've devised one mechanism, and we've reached out to people. Okay, we use, social media very actively, and we believe volunteers make a lot of difference. And thankfully, we are blessed with a lot of them. So every aspect, when you say, we have a yoga session which happens. So we have a yoga teacher who comes and teaches them. We have somebody who comes as a counselor, again volunteer. So every aspect of, whatever we've started off, we have not just, hired people left, right, because, we are too new and too young to even invest into such kind of thing. So we reached out to people, and right kind of people have come forward, and, they have helped out, which is a very big deal, and which and which we've seen in the parents also, that, they are absorbing everything and they are liking it. So that is making difference somewhere.
Right. Also, another big issue is, I think, the awareness that people from the rural areas have about something like cancer, and then what it entails, the kind of challenges that they have to go through, which they're not prepared for. We're going to talk about that, slipping into In My Blood, Shawn Mendes. That's a new single. It's Access Life Foundation founders, both Ankit and Girish, in the studios of 94.3 Radio 1 with me, Annie, on Good Morning Mumbai. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Good Morning Mumbai, and you're with Annie.
94.3 Radio 1.
At Access Life Assistance Foundation, you provide shelter to the people who are coming, especially pediatric cancer treatment in the city. If we have to go by the numbers beginning, say for instance from the time you started offering shelter, which is 2014 if I'm correct, to now, what has the growth in numbers been, sheer numbers? Now this is not just the people coming to you, but if we have to talk about hospitals or general incidence of cancer, especially childhood cancer, what is it like?
So I'll give you two figures. One is the kids who come to the city and the registered cases in India. There are about 50,000 children annually who are diagnosed with cancer, and it's about 2,500 to 3,000 kids who are registered at Tata Memorial Hospital itself. Now at Tata itself, there is a growth of at about 5% in the number of registered cases over the years. As far as we are concerned, we started with one center in 2014. We started with 8 children staying with their parents, so there were 24 people staying with us. And we have grown from one center to 5 centers, and now we have 43 kids staying with us.
Nice.
That's about 129 people. And over these years, we have had more than 200 children who have used our facility and they have gone back home. Now, we do not have a cap on how long they stay with us. They can stay with us as long as the chemotherapy goes on. Now that could be on an average about 4 to 6 months, but we have also had cases where a kid has stayed with us for almost 2 years. So this is in a nutshell the figures. That we have.
And if we have to talk about the awareness, like you did mention, or that the children or that the parents have when they're coming from villages, most of the times you're saying that it was left undetected, or they were diagnosed for something else and treated for something else. Those incidences, how do you then put them together when they come to you for help? It becomes a little more challenging, I believe.
So what happens is, as I was saying, in rural areas, because of lack of proper hospital amenities, the detection happens either late or they are sometimes wrongly diagnosed. So by the time they figure that it's not being taken care of, and they go to the bigger cities and they are detected for cancer, and in most cases they come to Mumbai. As I was telling you, we have a larger concentration of pediatric oncologists here in the city. So they come here. Once they come here, the hospital takes care of the entire treatment part, counseling them about what it is and everything. But the biggest challenge for them still remains is that the treatment could go on for such a long time. And although most people don't realize, but the non-medical expenses for patients like this, it's almost 45% of the total cost which they have to incur.
Right.
This is where we come into the picture, providing them with all the facilities, and we also have a counselor on board staying with us who counsel the parent on how they can be more strong, because in most of the cases these children they have the parents, they have more children back home.
Right.
They have more dependents back home they have to take care of, so they are either farmers or laborers, and they have left their only source of income there, and they have come to the city for this kid. So we are trying to help them in all the possible way.
Right. When it comes to funding, you are open to corporates helping you, individuals helping you. How do you keep it running for yourself and for the organization?
So initially when we started, it was our own funds that we used. We were not sure if we can actually run an organization like this. So, we used our own funds. We started in June, but we had not even registered ourselves as a non-profit until October, because we wanted to make sure that we can actually do it. It was only in December that we actually even had a bank account. But right now, yes, we are registered as a proper non-profit. We have a ATG and all those certifications in place. For us, most of the donors have been individual donors. Even with respect to corporates, there is a 3-year gap which any corporate would want you to be in there present with an audited statement of 3 financial years. So we completed that last year in October. So now there is corporates, we can approach the corporates, and the corporates obviously can support us. But for us, till now, it has been mainly individual donors who has come forward, and through word of mouth and social media, that they have come to us, seen what we do and helped us.
Right. We're going to break into a song. It's Close to You, Maxi Priest, and come back and talk a little more about awareness. Is something that they're also working on, not only in the rural areas or the people who come here for treatment, but also in the cities itself. There are very many people who do not know pediatric cancer or childhood cancer exists, and how they maybe at an individual level can also contribute. And this also brings me to the golden color, which I think is the representation of childhood cancer.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that when we come back on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Good morning, Mumbai, with me, Annie. Well, there is no doubt about that. Love Generation, Bob Sinclair featuring Gary Pine. This is 94.3 TD1 Access Life Foundation founders that I'm speaking with in the studios.
This is Good Morning Mumbai, and you're with Annie.
94.3 Radio 1.
Access Life Assistance Foundation typically is to provide a loving and temporary home, but we discussed all the while in this hour about the challenges that they faced at the foundation, because it was not just the shelter that they had to provide in the beginning, which was the initial idea, but then I think it moved on to adding the rest of the layers, and today you have a well-rounded and well-developed centers that you have across the city. So you're saying that a total of 5 centers that you have in the city now. Yeah. So can you tell us about the centers, where exactly they are in Mumbai?
Yeah. So we are based in Chembur. We have 3 centers in Chembur.
Okay.
We have 1 center in Thane, and we have 1 center in Andheri East. So that's where, we have all these 43 families who stay together.
Nice,
And, yeah.
nice. Over the years, what you have seen, the influx of the parents, what areas are the people coming from, if we have to ask?
So we get, people from rural part of, places where from Maharashtra, MP, UP, West Bengal, they just come from the smallest villages. I mean, a lot of them have never even come out of their district.
Right.
But then this, thing leads them to the city.
Right.
Which is challenging at times for them.
At the center, you are providing them a holistic approach and also educating them about the changes they need to make, right from the fact that they did not know to use a toilet, for instance, the commode and things like that, to even changes in nutrition, food habits, yoga and counseling that you added. So you have kept in touch with the families,
yes,
and have you been able to measure their improvement after they've returned back home?
Absolutely. I mean, it is, they have to keep coming back for routine checkups,
Right.
Probably a month or 3 months or 6 months, and they keep coming back to us and we meet the children. One is obviously when you meet the kids, you see the difference on how
Right.
it is. And we get these stories where, they've resumed and joined the school and how well they are doing at the school. In fact, there were a couple of interesting things where kids and mothers have gone back and insisted on making toilets at home.
Nice.
So, all those things. But yeah, I mean, certain way we keep measuring those. We keep meeting them, keeping in touch with them, trying to see how the progress is, how kids are doing in probably something they need for education.
Right.
So we do all those things. Just to add, it's not just awareness which ends up in the village or within the parents. We try to create awareness within the cities also.
Right.
Where September being a Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, we had, tied up with CST station and we got the monument lit in golden color. Nice. And last year, in fact, we did the same
official
thing.
Color for...
Yes, official color for childhood cancer.
Right.
And last year we did with Gateway of India as well, where
Nice.
that thing was projected. And we see a lot of people, now getting to know, where people know other colors, how they represent other stuff. Now they are getting to know about what golden color represents. So
absolutely. There's also this myth, like Girish, Ankit, both of you have been saying, that people have even in the cities. Forget rural areas, they come nowhere close when it comes to awareness. And through your foundation, you're building this awareness, at least starting with the parents who come with their children who need cancer treatment. But even in the cities, the myth about cancer that you cannot be of help to them or contribute by physically being there with them, that it is a contagious disease and those kind of things. What do you have to say about that?
I think the biggest challenge we faced was, and we realized was, when we were looking out for places for our center, most people were afraid that, if kids having cancer, were part of their society, housing society, will their kids get affected? Now, it's actually the other way around, Annie. The kids who are undergoing chemo, their immunity level is so low that people like you, normal people like us, if we were to have even cold or fever or any of this, there's a high possibility that, we might pass on that virus to them.
Right.
And they can catch onto them very easily. So it's a myth, definitely. Obviously, people who are undergoing chemo and radiotherapy and all those kind of medication, they pose no threat to anybody. So this is a myth, we've been trying to get across to as many people as possible that it's fine, it's not a big deal.
Right. And I think you're doing these stories and you're sharing knowledge with people through social media in a very big way. So can you take us through your handles?
Yeah, so we've been only using social media extensively to reach out to people, and we encourage people when they come to do check-ins and take pictures and share their stories and experiences. So yeah, somebody wants to check us out, they can go to Access Life India on Instagram and Access Life India on Facebook. So that's the way they will get to know more about us. And there are very cute stories also out there, which talk about children, how they've gone back and joined dance classes and karate classes and all those things.
Nice. Touching stories from attempts that have been straight from the heart. Very honest, if I may say so. So if you want to make contributions, if you want to know more about Access Life, then this is where you've got to be. That's Access Life India. Thank you so much, Girish and Ankit, for being in the studios
of having us here.